What is up, everyone? Brandon Ferst, aka Ferst Report. It is Thursday, October 22nd, 2020. And look, the main part of that, it's Thursday. It's your call, folks. The call to post. I, of course, am your host, Brandon Ferst. I can't do it by myself. I can barely even do a little bit of the lifting. I rely a lot of the heavy lifting on my friend and really a mentor in this game, and it is Southern California legend Raider Jim Martinez. Mr. Martinez, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing good. It's always a good day. There are no bad days, and we've got a lot to be thankful for. This is a great outlet. I love doing this week in and week out. It's been a pleasure, and we hope everybody that's listening is enjoying it and getting some good information along the way. Even if you disagree with us, that's good information because that means these guys don't know what they're talking about. And then you can go out and start your own podcast. How's that?
Exactly. And feel free to tag us on Twitter when you hit Swiss Skydiver in the Preakness. Oh, wait. We already did that. But before we get into the meat of today's podcast, look, myself and Raider Jim, very active on Twitter, especially on race days, mainly Saturday and Sunday. A lot of what we do depends on the odds. I mean, so we're talking about 5-10 minutes before the race goes off. So if you really do want to get our picks up to date, you're going to have to follow us on social media, on Twitter mainly, myself at Ferst Report, FERST, and you can follow Raider Jim at Raider Jim 1090 on Twitter. And look, if you're looking for other stuff, UFC, college football, NFL football, basketball when it gets rolling again, pretty much we have you covered on the Ramblin Gamblin Sports Network. So make sure to follow them on Twitter at and Gamblin and Ramblin Gamblin on our YouTube channel. So make sure you go and check all that stuff out. Plenty of tools for you to not only maybe distract yourself, but also make some money. That's what we're all about here. And really on that topic, as we are now about a week and a half, two weeks away from the biggest weekend in horse racing. And leading up to the Breeders' Cup, the big part of, really the whole part of the calendar year is qualifying for the Breeders' Cup. Well, those qualifying races are over, so it is time to focus on the main Breeders' Cup. But before we do that, we're going to do a little bit of a little handicapping workshop with you to kind of show you how to handicap, how we handicap, so that if for whatever reason you are in a situation and you're away from us or you're out somewhere and we haven't talked about the track you're at, you were able to at least do a little bit of handicapping. I'm going to pass it over to Raider Jim for just give us a little bit of maybe the history of handicapping and a little bit of background of horse racing handicapping.
Right. So what is handicapping? People all, what does it mean? It's different ways of doing it, but it all boils down to the same thing. So handicapping is just mathematically using the numbers to form what is a level playing field or creating an advantage. In golf, you hear guys say, and I don't golf, but I know guys that golf, oh yeah, I'm a 7, I'm a 10. And what does that mean? So if Brandon's a 7 and Jim's a 10, when we go out, we take our total scores. You're going to take 10 off of mine and 7 off of his. And then that's how we made our bet. I'll bet you $10 at the end of the game I'm ahead. So we handicap based on how good we really are. What are those different weights? But what's really interesting is, where did that really come from? The term handicap. It actually was an old English game. It is called hand in cap. So if Brandon has a baseball signed by Tony Gwynn and he said, I think this is worth $100. Jim, do you have anything you'd want to trade for it? I say, yeah, I got a baseball autograph by Ken Griffey Jr. I think this is worth $120. But do you want to trade? I don't know. So then we go to the third person. And Brandon takes his money out of his pocket and I take my money out of my pocket. We put them in the cap of the arbitrator or the arbiter. The arbiter holds the money, hears each side's story, and then, okay, he's got a ruling. Brandon's heard my argument on why the Ken Griffey Jr. ball has its worth. I hear what Brandon has to say about the Tony Gwynn ball. We reach our hands into the cap. This is not a lie. If we come out and our hands are open, that means we agree. We agree on the trade. And there is a portion of that that goes to the arbiter, and then we take our respective belongings or our payouts and go on our ways. If we come out and our hands are closed, means there's no deal. So the term handicap simply meant two people have something of value, but they are arguing about what's a fair comparison. How do we make this fair? How do we know we're making a fair deal? And there is a guy on the side who sits there and goes, okay. He becomes, at the racetrack, that's the handicapper. The handicapper, when you hear a handicap race, all that really comes down to is what's that horse going to carry? So in a race with a field of 6, and if it's a handicap race, you will see, and Tis the Law is going to carry 125. Raider Jim, the horse named Raider Jim, is going to carry 118, or that's drastic, but all that means is Tis the Law's the faster horse. So to make it more fair for the other guy, we're only going to have him carry 118 pounds. We're going to make this one carry more weight because we think that's the speed equalizer. That's what a handicapper does at the track, folks. So how does that apply when you hear Brandon say, we're going to talk to you about what we do to handicap horses? All that saying is that is what Brandon and Jim do to determine how we're going to do our bets. In our minds, what are the factors we're using to say, in this field of 6, this is why I think this is the best horse. So that's the generalization of handicapping in what I'm going to talk about, what Brandon's going to talk about, and a little bit of history on it. And then again, when it comes down to actually at the track, what does it mean? Wait, what is that horse carrying on its back? Which to me, all those little things, folks, keep that in your pocket. Someday you're going to be sitting at a bar and you're going to be watching a horse race from Caesar's Palace in the sports book. And you're going to look at the guy next to you and say, bet you $20 you can't tell me where the term handicap comes from. And you're going to remember this podcast and you owed Raider Jim a drink because it's going to pay off in spades, let me tell you. So that's that. And other examples of handicapping, I used golf. In bowling, if you've ever gone league bowling and one team's, we got to spot you guys X amount of pins. And even tonight, before 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, before kickoff, Brandon's going to have a bet down on the Thursday night football game. So am I. Guess what? If we pick the Giants, whatever side you pick, you're picking the handicap. We're picking the Giants plus 5 points. That's our handicap. That's how we make it even. Or they've weighted it in favor of the Eagles. So if you put your money on the Eagles, then you're hoping that they're going to cover that because they're still the fastest horse in the field. It's real fascinating. And really, when you break it down like that, how simple could it get?
I had absolutely no idea that handicap came from that. And look, I have my stepfather is from the great country of England. I'll tell you this. They are not terribly original with the names of their sports. I'm sorry. Hand in cap. I mean, that is it's just, I'm football. And look, I understand that makes more sense than the football here, but just, it's so British, so English that that was literally the name. All it was, yep, you pulled your hand out of a cap. What should we name it? I don't know. Hand in cap. Perfect. Let's go with it. I love it. Perfect. It's so great. But that is a great piece of knowledge and a great point that Raider Jim just brought up. Pretty much everything that sports betting is a handicap. Even if you want to look at the money line, the extra money that you're either putting out or hopefully trying to win is almost like a monetary handicap. They want you to either risk more to win less, whether you are going for the favorite, or vice versa, risk less to win more on a situation where, they'll take their chances in a situation. Some situations, in the NFL, you don't see too many money lines get higher than, 250 plus 250 or minus 250. But anyways, moving on to the part of handicapping that I think is most maybe misconstrued or misunderstood and downright confusing to the novice. It is 100%. I've asked tons of people, friends that I go to the track with. The first thing I do when I go to the track, actually on track, is I buy a racing form. And all that is essentially your Bible for the day. And your horse racing Bible, that is everything you need to know. But when you open it, it is incredibly confusing if you don't know what you are looking at. Believe me, it is very, very easy to get confused. It almost looks like hieroglyphics if you don't know.
And what Brandon is about to launch into is valuable beyond its value. So pay close attention. And yeah, my analogy to this is if you threw a page had binary code all over it, and you don't know what binary code is, one person's going to look and go, zeros and ones, so what? And the other person's going to say, are you kidding me? And point down, and they're getting this great message and all this knowledge out of it because they know what binary is. And so sometimes when you look at these and what Brandon's going to share with you, you see a big number and a smaller lowercase number all right next to it, and they're all lined up one after another. You're like, what the hell does this mean? So yeah, this is going to be good.
So what I'm going to show you now, if you are listening to this podcast audio only, when you're in a safe spot, obviously if you're driving, get to where you need to go. But if you're able to go onto YouTube, head to YouTube, either Ferst Report's channel or the Ramblin Gamblin Sports channel, and find this episode. It will be called to post October 22nd, 2020. Get to this point. This is going to be a visual. I will try to explain it as best as possible for our audio only, but you are really going to have to see this really to understand it. As we pull up really what is considered, what is a PP, and get your head out of the gutter. It is a past performance. That's all these are. Raider Jim, am I up? Can you see that?
Yes, you are.
Perfect. Awesome. So this is just a random race that I pulled up. A random PP. It's going to be Keeneland this Saturday. Race number 3, not that big of a deal, but we're going to start up here at the top. We have.
Is there a way to enlarge that?
Oh yes, there is. Thank you. I believe so.
It's pretty compressed.
Yeah. Hold on one second. There we go. Okay, here we go. Perfect.
There we are. Yeah.
All right. So
excellent. There you go.
Easier there.
Even I can read it.
Perfect. So at the top of all of these, obviously this is the start of the race. There's only going to be one of these headers. What you're seeing up here is pretty much the type of race you're going to see. Not every single race that you see at the track is going to be a Kentucky Derby or anything close to it. A lot of these are going to be kind of, I don't want to call them, rough races, but they're not going to be horses that you'll see at the high level. So at the top here, you'll see 6 furlongs. Obviously, look, that is the length of the distance. If you're not sure what a furlong is, pretty much 8 furlongs equal a mile. Think of it as an eighth of a mile. And then if you see it right up here, this is going to be kind of show you visually how the track will go. Now, Keeneland is very, very, what's the word I'm looking for? Usual. There's a better word for it, but there are some tracks that will have a lot of weird kind of start gates and certain things like that. Keeneland is not one of them. It's very similar to Del Mar, but they will start up here, finish obviously down here. As you can see, that 6 furlongs is one of the shorter races. You'll see it's considered a sprint. A route is anything a mile longer, I believe. And looking up here, we have a starter optional claiming. What that is going to mean is all of these horses in here possibly could be up for sale. Now, they're not all up for sale. You will see a regular claiming race. That means all of those horses are eligible to be claimed. This is an optional claiming. That is not the case. And how you can tell if a horse is ready to be claimed, or I'm sorry, not ready to be claimed, eligible to be claimed is, whoops. Let me see if I can go down. Sorry, this is the first time.
And while Brandon's looking for the spot on the screen, the most common popular race that you're going to find at every racetrack every day that they run is going to be a claiming race. It's just going to be, is it an allowance race? Is it a claiming optional, as Brandon is defining right now? But claiming is the most common race that you're going to find.
Exactly. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like any of these, unless Keeneland does their claiming options differently. Normally, you would see a number in this area right here. Obviously, that number in this situation, I believe, would be 40,000 because that's what the optional claiming number is. Let me just go up one more time to just make sure. Come on. Yes. I'm sorry, make that 10,000. So this is a very low class of claiming. You would see a $10,000 sitting right there if the horse was eligible to be claimed. Now, this is the caveat to claiming a horse. Everyone looks really, really smart and thinks, oh, it's a claiming race. The horse that just won by 10 lengths, everybody's going to claim him, right? Hold on. The claims have to be in before the race goes off. Therefore, you have to do your homework. You're not relying on watching how this horse runs. You have to want to claim this horse beforehand, before the race goes off. Hence why morning workouts are the practice field equivalent for football. Not just, a lot of owners and trainers are very secretive. Most of the time now, tis the law and the big horses like that, everyone's, wants you to see their workouts. But these horses that are going through the claiming ranks to kind of get to the top, they want to be hidden. A lot of these horses, that's how they go through. Like Raider Jim had said, the claiming is the most common race that you will see on any race day. Now, moving to the individual horses. Obviously, you look right here, and this is the binary type of code we were talking about. Let's go all the way over here. We have Ghostly Who. So what this is going to be, we have the owner is Jerry Geisy. This is the horse. It was gelded. It's a gelding. It was, let's see. It was gelded on October 3rd, 2017. It's 5 years old. You got your sire and your dam. Your sire is the father of the horse, and the dam is the mother. That's a big part of horse racing. Is there anything I'm missing so far, Raider Jim?
No, if people are wondering, well, why would somebody just go out and buy a horse for the sake of having it, or what is the reasoning? A lot of this is going to come down to, if you're looking at 2-year-olds, when 2-year-olds are up and they're claiming, that is because they are reaching that age where they can compete in those Breeders' Cup Challenge races. They can compete in all the juvenile features that are going to be out there for the course of a year. And that is also the prep year for the Kentucky Derby and those big races like that. Once you hit 3 years old, that's like the peak right there of really making your name. But then it's beyond that. If you have the big money owners and the players in the game, they're looking at what is the breedability of Ghostly Who. I want Ghostly Who in my stable because Ghostly Who was Ghostly Who's mom, who was his dad, and then what does that breeding potential have for me post race career?
Exactly. And you can also find right here, this is Corrales, I believe Gabe Corrales, I could be wrong. Anyways, Corrales, he will be the jockey. And what they're going to show right here, the first part is going to be how he's done at Keeneland this year. Remember, we're at Keeneland in Kentucky. That's the horse or the track that we're talking about. And we're going to see this. You have 32 starts, 8 wins, 2 places, and 6 shows. If you see all that right there. And then this 0.25 is the win percentage. 8 wins in 32 races. That's a very nice percentage to have. Anything higher than 20, you're in the nice. That's where you want to be. And then we go to 2020. This is Corrales's where he's been all year. How it's been all year. Doesn't look like it goes as deep into it as in terms of the place and show, but You see 106 wins in 485. No, that can't be. Oh, no. Yeah. 106 wins in 485 runs. So for a 22% clip, once again, that is a good clip to have. I'm not terribly familiar with Corrales, but those are things that they can tell you right there. Hey, this guy, 32 runs at Keeneland, 25% win percentage. At the very least, this guy knows how to win at Keeneland. And we'll move over to the right. This is actually my favorite table because it shows everything you really need to know about the horse. We have 4 different columns right here, 4 different rows, 4 different columns. Same situation as we had with the jockey's stats. This is the horse's stats. Lifetime, this horse has ran 32 races, 9 wins, 8 places, 1 show, $123 won in its career. That is not a ton, or that's nothing to sniff at. This is a horse that's been successful at not terribly high levels, but when you're in the money, 18 out of your 32 runs, that's enough for a bettor to at least look at and figure out what's going on. Now we look over here as well, and we're going to show the horses that, let me go the other way, how it's ran on different tracks. Now, obviously, as you can see, this horse is a dirt horse. They haven't put this horse on the turf. 29 of its 32 runs have been on the dirt when it's been classified as fast. Every single day, every race day, the track will be graded. Firm or fast. I don't know if I know that there's wet, sloppy.
Right.
And generally those are the ones those are the races where you'll only see 4 horses running because 12 of them have scratched out. Nobody wants to run in the slop. But obviously this horse, 29 of its 32 runs have been on dirt fast. Now, we're in that time. If you want to go deep, you can go check out the weather report for Keeneland, but this horse has only ran in the wet stuff 3 times. So I hate to say it, it probably won't run if it is wet. And I don't think we're going to have to deal with that this weekend. Now, moving on to, I guess, kind of the meat of all of this craziness. And it's these rows that go horizontally. What these are the past performances. Now, I know it looks like a math problem that Goodwill Hunting finished or I guess, no, it wasn't Goodwill Hunting, just Will Hunting finished in Goodwill Hunting. Anyways, this is your key to where this horse has been and how it has ran. Now, we start right here, October 9th, 2020, race number 4 in Key. Now, a big part of reading these PPs is understanding the abbreviations. Key, or KEE, is Keeneland. CD, Churchill Downs. DMR, Del Mar. SA, Santa Anita. And if you ever have any questions, it's just a very quick Google search away. But anyway, so this is a horse last time out, ran 13 days ago as of this podcast. So it will be, I believe, 14 days after it ran in Keeneland earlier on. It ran on a track that was fast, FST. It ran at 6 furlongs, 6F, which is exactly where we are today. And what you're going to see here is what type of race it was in. A 3-year-old and up claiming race at 8,000. So that means this is just a bit of a step up. That was an 8,000 claiming race. This is a 10,000 claiming race. Not a massive step up in class, but one to at least keep track of. Now we move over here. There are different speed figures. Raider Jim, what is the you use Equibase, correct?
That's correct.
Perfect. So Equibase, I like the racing form. And it's just kind of, how you, whatever you prefer, but we have the speed total right here. And look, a 90 in the racing form, I believe, Equibase is a little different. I think they rank a little bit higher than racing form would. But anyway, so you have a speed form of 90. Obviously, look, that's a very strong speed race, especially when you look down. Remember, all of these down here are past performances, past races, September 23rd, August 12th, August 3rd. So you see how this horse has constantly gotten better, at least when it was claimed by Danny Caldwell right here. After this race was claimed by Danny Caldwell, the horse got better. Now, Danny Caldwell ended up getting rid of him, claimed by M&M Racing, put up a 90 speed rating after really topping out at 69, 72, 72, all over here. And as we continue on this row, you will be able to kind of see the way the horse runs. So in this spot, at the first quarter pole, you had the horse in second place, and then it had it in fourth place. You see this this full case number, and then you see 1.5. That means this horse was in fourth place, 1.5 lengths off the lead. The next check-in point, another quarter pole, so moved up to third, but still 1.5 lengths behind the lead. Now, as they get closer, another quarter pole, it has taken the lead by 1/2 length. And as it finally hits the line, as you see the full big 1 number, and then next to it, a small 7.5, that means the horse finished first and won by 7.5 lengths. That's a huge number. When I say lengths, that means literally horse lengths. He won by 7.5 over the next closest horse. And as we continue to go over, we talked about how much weight the horse is carrying. That's what we talked about with the handicap. That is what this 120 is right here. All of these horses in this race are carrying 120, at least in this actual race. Last one, I'm not sure, honestly, but that shows you what the horse was carrying. Same one as it's 120 right here, 120 right there. And finally, we roll through and you see 6.1. That means the odds that this horse went off of to 1. So it was 6.1 to 1 on this Keeneland race. And if we go even a little deeper into it, as we go over here to the right, this is something that's very, very key when you have horses that have faced the same horses in the same race. Ghostly Who won the race, so it's put first. Then you have what I would assume to be Victory Element. Once again, we're getting a lot of abbreviations. Thank you. I believe that would be Victory Element. Not that big of a deal. But you see right here, why does it say ATN whatever success? Why is it bolded? I'm going to show you why. Because right underneath is a horse, Attain Success, which is the horse that they are referencing. There we go. Perfect. That is the horse that they are referencing. Obviously, as you see, last time out for this horse, ran in that same race, lost to Ghostly Who. So already, I'm not really handicapping this race, but already I can see Ghostly Who has defeated Attain Success at the very least. So that is really in a nutshell what I look over for the PPs and the past performances. It will take time, folks. You're not going to open up a racing form and see it the way I see it or see it the way Raider Jim. It's really a lot of staring at it and going, what? Why is that there? And then going back and forth, kind of understanding the patterns here and there. But that is kind of a little layman's term of how I read the form. Is there anything that I maybe missed or you want to add?
No, I think you covered it all because you showed you showed everything. You showed everything a listener or a reader needs to see on it, and it is good to look at. If you go back to the ghostly who was that number 1 horse.
Yes.
And you can also see was claimed a few months back, was claimed down here by M&M, sold out to Danny Caldwell, and then claimed back again. So it was in a stable, got out of the stable, went back to the stable. And those lines also tell you who was training the horse for that stable at the time, which is very key. How well did that horse perform when it was with M&M Racing the first time around, and when it was the same trainer? I can't read his name.
We got Danny Caldwell, and then the trainer was Villafranco Frederico
Villafranco. Okay.
Oh, sorry, I read that backwards.
Yeah, they do last name first.
Gotcha,
so Robert Diodoro was the M&M trainer. How did he perform then on those 2 races before they sold him off to Danny Caldwell, and now he's back under the tutelage of Diodoro again? So just important things to look at, because you can look at a horse, and if you see Bob Baffert down on the line, and all of a sudden Bob Baffert's not the trainer, but then 2 months later he is the trainer again, then that's a horse probably worth looking at.
Awesome. Yeah, exactly. And
then that lets you look at that trainer's record. Then you go one step further into your own personal handicapping. Now, well, what makes this guy a good trainer? And then go look at the trainer's records, and you can go on Racing Form, you can go on Equibase, you can go on, there's several outlets, even I think TVG, there's a link that will take you. You can look at the trainers and see what their records have been for a given year, or a given history if you want. And it will give you the history with that particular horse.
Exactly. And also one other thing, I'm so glad you brought up the owners, past owners, things like that, because if you do look right here, look, M&M claimed it for the first time. And then it goes out to put on a 72. At the time, that was the best run of its time. So M&M obviously thinking, okay, look, we got what we paid for, and then drops down to a 61, leaves, goes to Frederico Villafranca, or I guess Danny Caldwell, and then back up to a 69 and then a 67. M&M decide, you know what? Let's take another chance on it. Without a doubt, its best race of its career, putting up a 90. A 90 is not anything to really sniff at. So that's what you're looking at in those situations. Now, all PPs are going to be a little different, but at the same time, they're all going to be the same, if that makes sense. They might put things in a little different areas, but they're all going to pretty much have the same layout. When you see, 3 big numbers and then 3 small numbers, you're going to see pretty much the number, the place of the horse, and then the lengths behind. Little things like that might not be in the same area, but they will have essentially the same idea behind it.
Right.
And with that, I do want to add, we talked about claiming. We talked about stakes races last week. There is another that honestly, for me, up until I started collaborating with Raider Jim, was my kryptonite. And now I'm not saying, now I'm, killing it here and there. But when it comes to maiden races, what maiden races are, when you hear about maiden races, all that means is every single horse in that field has yet to win. So there are obviously going to be different types of maidens. And if you see a maiden special weight, pretty much anything $40,000 or higher, that's pretty much the you're going to see kind of the young stars early. That's right. The top horses. Those you'll see the
AAA.
Yes, exactly. That's the Long Beach Paulies, the Harvard Westlakes, the horses that have been found and probably, in all honesty, paid high 6 figures for. These are the horses that are all expected to, at the very least, hopefully win 6 figures. All of these trainers, when you buy a horse, for 6 figures, you're hoping that it pays you back in terms of the millions. But pretty much most of the maiden horses, maiden special weight horses, have very, very high expectations. Raider Jim actually was very, very helpful for me. The first ever call to post we have, I asked him, what is your strategy for, maiden races or first time starters, and gave me a great insight in terms of looking at the trainer, how they do things like that. But Raider Jim, what are your thoughts in terms of how you handicap not only maiden races, but races overall?
Maidens or anything in general, some people put a lot of weight into lineage. And that's a fine line to walk. It's a double-edged sword, and it's a real roll of the dice. You look at a horse like Secretariat, one of the most famous names in thoroughbred racing. But if you're Secretariat's grandson, and there's actually an article out there that talks about that, you're not too successful. It's kind of like Joe Frazier and his son Marvis when you get in talking about boxing. Marvis was a good boxer. I'm not going to get into the ring with Marvis Frazier because he'd take my head off. But he wasn't his dad. He just happened to be of the same name and he had the same love of sport. So some of these horses, and what we were just speaking about in the claiming races, people will look at the lineage and you want to buy a piece of the horse or a horse that was a piece of that lineage. American Pharaoh, Mucho Macho, those horses out there. So I do look at that though. But then when I see that, then the first thing I have to look at is where have they performed? What have they done? Who's training them right now? You give me a horse that's from a good lineage and there's a Doug O'Neill training it, and that horse has been third, fourth, a second here, and they've had a good year at running. It's November. We're going into November. If during the course of 2020, that horse is running once a month and finishing in the money 40% of the time, okay. I'm going to look at that horse, especially with the Doug O'Neill training. And then what was the big one we always have talked about? Watch those morning line numbers. Whatever you see on Thursday morning and it says, okay, Saturday, race 7 at Del Mar, we're going to have a horse called Fancy Tiger running, and the morning line right now is 10-1. And then on Saturday morning, it says it's 10-1. Then Saturday, you finish drinking your coffee and you've noticed it's moved to 8-1. And within a half hour later, that horse went from 10-1. It's moved all the way to 4-1. It's getting an hour within race time. Now all of a sudden it's 2.5-1. Okay. In this day and age, it's not just a matter of a bunch of people that gather at a racetrack. And so people are throwing big money down because they want to impress the client or the friend that they brought to the racetrack for the first time. No. This is a whole different ballgame. This is COVID times. So what you're seeing on those money line moves is a lot of people talking behind the scenes that know what's going on with the horse. They know if a horse is really going to, they hear the trainers or the jockeys say, now this horse has got this in the bag. Or maybe what they're hearing is in the money for sure. I can probably push the horse to the winner's circle, but definitely in the money. They tell a friend who tells a friend who tells a friend, and pretty soon people are putting money out there. Let me tell you, the offline betting or the off-track wagering has been a boom for thoroughbred racing. Racetracks don't have fans in the stands, but they're pulling in as much money as ever on the pari-mutuel wagering. So that was kind of off track. I look at lineage, I look at the trainers, look at the past performances, especially this horse, Ghostly Who that we just looked at. That horse is running every 3 weeks or so. How is that speed that Brandon did, that Brandon pointed out? What is the finish record? That 25% tells me maybe that horse isn't going to win this time around, but that looks like a pretty sure in the money bet. Mm-hmm. And going to the window, I always tell myself, I'd rather put a $20 bill on a show ticket and collect $21 than I would put $20 on a win ticket and walk away with nothing.
Exactly.
The whole goal for me is walk away with something in my hand more than what I bet at the window. That's when you've had a good day at the track. Amen. So even if you say, I broke even, well, if that's a true statement, I'd have never met anybody that went to Vegas that didn't tell me they broke even, including me, and break even. Well, no. Did you pay for your expenses? Well, no. Did you pay for your fuel? No. How about did you get comp for your airline because you won so much money? No. Well, then you didn't break even. Yeah. That trip cost you money. Yeah. So So again, so it's lineage. It is the history of the field, as Brandon pointed out, a lot of these horses on the day-to-day, the week-to-week meets, the Del Mars, the Keenelands, the Belmonts, they know one another. They've raced one another. Look and see how many of those horses they have run against. The Belmont, which just ran recently, those horses all competed against one another in the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness. So they were all familiar. It was somewhat easy to handicap and figure out who was probably going to win, or at least figure out the three that were going to be in the money. And I think we hit on those.
Definitely. And at the track, myself, I am a huge sucker. I love to get to Del Mar, about an hour early or so, and just go through the whole thing. And not only, just handicap, but just see if there's anything that just catches your eye. Just all kinds of things can jump out. And for me, obviously, you'll see names like Baffert, you'll see names like Doug O'Neill, you'll see jockeys like, Flavian Pratt. But for me, it's guys like Mike Smith. And unfortunately, when he was able, and maybe a little bit more in his prime, but DeSormo, those guys, and mainly Mike Smith. Mike Smith he's like a prize fighter. He's not coming out to run race 3 at Keeneland, a optional claiming 10,000. He's showing up for 2 races a day at Santa Anita or Del Mar, and they're the biggest ones, and they're going to be on the best horse. And one other thing, in terms of the jockey, one of the I usually do it at Del Mar because I'm always so locked into Del Mar. I'm very, very, West Coast biased on that because I'm right down the road from it. But what you'll see is jockeys who have been running on a horse for a while, but all of a sudden, those 3 horses that they've been running on have kind of turned into a collision course. They're all going to be in the same race. Now, when that happens, find the jockey. Whatever jockey that was running all 3 of those horses, what jockey or what horse that jockey picked. Because that jockey, no matter what, folks, and Raider Jim is included, and I'm sure he's okay with me saying this, the owners and trainers and jockeys know more about that individual horse than we will ever in our life, and it's not even close. Not even close. So those jockeys, when that jockey has been riding 3 or 4 of the same horses in that race, and it decides that, oh, I'm going to choose Ghostly Who over these 3 others, that should tell you something. Now, when that happens, usually the odds go for it as well. I personally don't like to bet anything 2-1 or lower, just because I do want to maybe get a little bit of profit. Now, there are situations where, that horse is just too good. I'll find an exotic bet to get that, 9-5 in or 3-5 horse in at. But the one last thing I will say is go with your gut. You could probably find a reason for any single horse to win any single race. You can look at those PPs and say, hey, this could happen because of this, or this could happen because of that, and vice versa. I could look at Swiss Skydiver and come up with a reason why she'll finish last in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Probably not going to happen, but if you look at things long enough, you will see what you want to see. So that's why I'm a big fan of going through it once, just kind of seeing what I get. Anything jumps out to me, great. But then breaking it down in that 20 minutes. I like to give myself a time limit. You have 20 minutes until the next race goes through. Get as much research done as you can then, and then you need to move on, because it's like information overload. Myself personally, like I said, go with the gut. Now, if you're on race 7 and you've been going with your gut and you're 0 for 7, okay, might need to switch it up. But more than likely, that's not going to be the case. You're going to hit some. And at the end of the day, I've always talked about it on this podcast, probably beaten that. I guess it's not really a great analogy to say beating a dead horse on this podcast, but I've really hammered home this point of there are so many ways to win in horse racing. Unlike any other sport, your horse can finish 3rd and you could win more money than the guy who picked that horse to win the winning horse. You can make more money on the 3rd place horse than the winning horse. That's why I love horse racing. So get creative. Find ways to maybe hit that 10-1 shot coming into third with a play show bet. Let everyone else chase the 2-1 favorite. Let's find a couple play show bets that can make a little bit of money. And if they come in and win, we look pretty smart.
Absolutely right. And again, same thing. Did you go to the window and did you get your money back plus an extra 5, 10, 20, 50, whatever it was? Yes, you did. So who cares if you didn't pick the winning horse or you didn't bet on the winning horse? You won the race.
You have anything to add, Raider Jim, before we wrap up this another fantastic call to post?
Yeah, we did. So we did our school and our education today. Class was in, led by Professor Ferst, and I really appreciated being part of it. The only thing I would add is we didn't cover any races, but I would offer to everyone out there, Belmont this weekend, every race is going to be $100,000 or more, all 9 races. So that is a good program to get up early. Now, remember, there's an East Coast time difference, but even tomorrow evening, if you've got nothing else to do, pull up the racing form, pull up Equibase, pull up your favorite site, and start going through those races one by one. Pick a couple, but everything's 100,000 plus on Saturday at Belmont. It's going to be a great day of racing. I don't know if I will get information out on all 9 through the course of the day, but throughout the day, I'll be throwing stuff out there on Twitter on the ones that I think are worth taking a look at for sure.
Awesome. And
we've had some pretty good success.
Yeah, well, we sure have had a lot of very good success, whether it's, like I said, Swiss Skydiver, or I think it was the Frisette. We hit the 29-1 shot coming in. But anyways, I think this is the perfect weekend for what we just kind of taught you, to go into that Belmont day, and you're going to see really the best of the best. I did not know that Belmont was going, wow, all 9 races over 100,000. That is
100 plus. 100 plus. A couple are 150. I think there's a couple $200,000 in there somewhere down the way. So
that's probably as close as you can get to Breeders' Cup. Obviously, it's not the amount of money because the Breeders' Cup is in the millions, but still, all the top races, all the top horses are going to be at Belmont. So a great opportunity to take everything we just taught you or showed to you and put it to use. And look, I brought up my Twitter handle. Feel free, DM me, take a picture. What does this mean?
Right.
I will let you know. Now I will also throw out there, we have I think more of a East Coast listener base now. So I am on the West Coast. So if you do text me at 6:30 in the morning, you will have to be ready for a little bit of a delay there, but I will get back to you as soon as possible, because I think that is, look, Twitter and social media, there are a lot of people, oh, it's terrible, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, if you use social media in bad ways, then yes, it is bad. But if you use social media as a bit of a networking situation or a way to learn from
and
other
a learning
people,
device, that's correct.
Yeah. And you also kind of do have to put your hands up and understand that just because it is on the internet, not necessarily true. So, you kind of have to maybe double check, triple check your sources, but it's a great tool to learn from people that you would never, ever have the option to get to know. And this is a perfect opportunity. There are a lot of people who are hearing this voice who would never, ever have an opportunity to. And hopefully you are getting into horse racing. And like I said, if you do have any questions or comments, feel free to DM myself, or I'm sure Raider Jim.
Absolutely.
As well. We'd love to hear from you all. Raider Jim, final thoughts as we get closer to really our kind of Super Bowl weekend, if you will.
Right. In North America, it is the Breeders' Cup weekend, which is 2 weekends away. Right after the election, it's going to be a real, what a week that's going to be for the media. And Breeders' Cup will not be overshadowed by the election, I assure you. A lot of coverage is going to be on TV that weekend. Beyond that, on the West Coast, we're going to launch right into the Bing Crosby session, which is just a few weeks long, but it's nice out here on the West Coast. They're going to keep it alive. And then that will take a break for the holidays. Santa Anita, again, will then ramp up after the holidays, towards the end of the holidays, and we'll continue that. But between that Breeders' Cup, the Bing Crosby session out here at Del Mar, we will still be on week in and week out, because that's going to give us the opportunity to talk about political things, that would be the horse racing initiative that's getting ready to get passed in the House. And then we will also talk the history of tracks like Belmont, which is one of the most historic tracks in the nation. Keeneland, which you hear us talk about, Churchill Downs. We will talk racing coast to coast, and I'm looking forward to it.
Exactly. And we're going to be here every week, every Thursday, dropping knowledge. And like Raider Jim said, there could be some episodes where we're, breaking down the history of Belmont Park or even Del Mar or this or that. And there's going to be, an episode in a couple weeks that we are giving you nothing but profitable information. Because when that Breeders' Cup rolls around, we are going to have that covered from top to bottom. I'm really, really excited. I keep telling myself I just have to get through the dentist appointment, if you will. That is the election. We get through that, and our lollipop at the end of the appointment is the Breeders' Cup weekend. We get tons of races Friday and Saturday with the best of the best in all of the classes. Really, really looking excited, really getting excited for that. And we are going to start breaking those races down next week. Very, very excited, as we will be back with you next Thursday. Don't forget, go follow us for this weekend's picks at Ferst Report, Ferst, myself, and at Raider Jim 1090 for Mr. Martinez. So thank you all so much for listening. My name is Brandon Ferst, aka Ferst Report, for Raider Jim and myself. Thank you all so much for listening.
Thank you very much. Be safe out there.
Post. Have a great day, and go wash your hands and stop hating everybody. Take care.
That's it.